Hi, Lauren, and welcome to your second feedback session. Um, so, before I start, sorry, I still have this mic for this week. I forgot, but I am away from home, so I'm using this mic. But eventually, I'll have a better microphone at home, so I'm sorry. So that's the first thing, and then the second thing is here I have a screen. Not complaining, but that is way bigger than the one I have at home. So we're missing a little bit on the side, but I should be okay for Sync Sketch. We should be fine. But yeah, I'll keep an eye out on the recording to make sure that I'm not doing anything out of out of what's being recorded actually. Um, all right. So yeah, thank you for copying both. Uh, it's not guaranteed that I'll use both, but it's better if I want to explain two things and just not have to draw it over myself, basically. One other thing you can do next time is to remove the ref. I don't need it in here because you put it next, um, and it's mostly useful for you. It's good that you're doing ref. It's very important, but it's mostly useful for you. For me, I don't need to check your ref. I trust you to do it. So let's play it. Cool, cool. So I read your notes. So you worked on the camera and the focal change, and you added that little guy at the beginning. Little guy, big guy at the beginning, and um, and the run is less. The S curve for the run is less intense, less big. Cool, and you added that facial expression. Um, right. So let's get into it. So the first thing I would say, I'll start with the things that are to me the main things we need to make sure work, and then I can go into details. But like the main things, right? So the main things for me right now is this movement here needs to be. We need to find a solution for this part to this part because right now it's just so the guy leaves screen, camera's kind of like following nothing. Then he catches up, but the guy is not in the same screen space. He's not. Before he was on the right, now he's on the left, and he's in midair. We don't really know why. And also, when the camera arrives, it makes it look like he's going backwards, and then he goes forward again. So I think we need to find a solution for this. And also, this movement. I know I said that I like this angle, but actually, I think it's too extreme for some reason. I think because especially there, you get. Whoops. Let's change the color. You get deformations that are like super extreme of the focal. Um, could you let me think? I think it would be worth. I know I know you're going for a special style and then you want to have that big deformation, but there's several things. First of all, it's easier to do those deformations in 2D than in 3D without looking at too extreme. Like this is too extreme on this guy. Um, so there's things you can get away in 2D that you can't really get away with 3D, and I think that changing the focal in mid shot is is tricky. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure we're gonna make it look good. Is what I'm saying. The only thing you could do, one thing you could do, is either have a cut so that the next camera has a different focal, or have the same focal, and maybe that's what I would go for. Have the same focal for the whole shot. Uh, So let's do first of all that part. That part here, I think it's either it goes off screen and then you have a cut, meaning we go back to a different angle, and maybe I don't know. I'm just let me see. I'm just trying something here. So basically, it would go from this to this, But even then, I don't think it's a cut that really works. So what I would do is keep this guy more like further in so that he stays on camera. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Let me see, so here, maybe this would be the biggest it would be. So you don't cut his legs basically. So he doesn't go closer to camera than this for now. He comes and crouches here to prepare for his jump. You will find a nicer pose than this. And then we can go easier to this because he'll be crouched before. You see his legs and you would see the whole movement. And then maybe trying to think what we could do to have the same energy you have, because I know that's what you want to do in this shot. It's like cool energy. You know what? I have another idea. I have an idea, other idea that will go better with your what you want. You could keep what you have here. Is jumping here instead of going off screen in this frame. It goes off screen up here. So that's his leg or whatever. He goes off screen, and then next frame he's like just the legs, whatever. But he goes off screen like this, up, not to the side. So this he goes up, and this frame, yeah, this is all. This is this frame now, right? It's all gone. Like this. So he goes off frame, and then you cut. So after this, cut for sure. So meaning, woo, different angle, complete different angle. Why is it so big? Oh yeah, because this. So this you cut after this, and then in the new angle. So he's off screen in a new angle. I'm just gonna draw it here. It would need to be a big enough change in angle wise compared to the previous that you don't think like it's a weird cut. So you need to have a proper different angle. So maybe, so we left him jumping up. Maybe it could be like this. I can't draw, so I'll try something. Hopefully that's clear enough. So wow, this is terrible. Oh no, forgot this. But basically, you are below him. He's in the air, and he's hitting that pose where I'll do it. I'll do it in the camera, so it's a bit easier. He's doing that pose, like, and then maybe you can go all the way to the punch, maybe like this. I'm trying to think of another cut for after, because we need to have that other side there. And it's very hard to do a 180. 180 means when you have the camera one way and then the cut after is just basically opposite. It's like flipped. So if we can avoid that, it's better. But yeah, so Or maybe he can be going up with one knee up. Then you can have a really nice pose. Maybe maybe this is a little bit too twinned, too similar. And then you could add those effects you want later on of he's going up, right? Because here basically he's running, he's getting his energy to jump up. Then here you would crouch a lot more to make it prepare really. We can draw that better, but basically a big squash. And then whoosh, goes in the air really fast. And then in the air, we show the next frame where he's kind of like, he's not floating, but he's slowly going in the air like this, and then all this stuff going on. And then this is all suggestion, right? This is your shot. I don't want you to think that's the only way to do it. I'll give you the broad stroke of why I'm doing this after, just because I don't want to be directing your shot if you don't think that's what you want. Let me be clear. I'm just really making sure that it reads. And right now, I don't think it reads what you want. And then maybe, so the next frame, so we have character 1 in the air. And remember, character 2 was here. And he left. We need to find a reason why he leaves. But basically, he's left. Now this guy is chasing. He's in the air. It could be either this pose, by the way, or it could be this like fist forward, fist backward, ready to hit. Whichever pose you feel will communicate that. And then in the next frame, you could have character 2 either like getting ready for fight, like this. Yeah. And maybe you could have those like. Again, this is like, there would be like a small, it would be animated, but it would be like mostly one pose, and he's like getting a little bit tense. And then in the next one, I wonder if you can come back to this angle, maybe? Let me think. At this point, I'm storyboarding, but yeah. Again, just ideas. Then you could have this angle where one arm is back, the other arm is like forward, and then you can have that big focal if you want, even more like this. So that's like the punch ready to go. That's the guy is like, you see the back of his head. This is his ear. This is not a nice pose, but basically it's the reverse of this. You basically, now your camera on this shot, the camera is here, looking at this from this angle, right? So that's the camera here, right, behind his shoulder, but it's the same pose. And then we see this other little dude here. you have to make him tiny for several reasons. Well, tiny, smaller because of the perspective. He might be tiny anyway. Well, because of the focal. But one of the reasons is that this is your hero. This is the not the hero you want him to feel small, I guess. And then, so we have. Whoosh, whoosh. He prepares his arm on this shot. The arm goes back more. Even whoops, sorry. Arm goes even back. And you can start throwing the punch, I guess. Um, so pose A would be the same pose as you have here, the whichever, and pose B would be the punch forward, and then I think you could have maybe this from here. It could be the same angle. You could have everything happen in this, so you could have actually that could be your last shot where whoops. And then you have the buildings in the back. And essentially you do the same as you have here, except instead of being from below, maybe it's from above. Maybe the camera is more like here. And then this guy is more like, it's more from above. Basically a bit more like this. And then you can have what you have right now. And then at the end, maybe a little explosion would be nice. That's like far away. So, long story short, so this is my solve for story-wise, for making your shot both clear, like both like clearer, and also more in what you wanted. Basically, you wanted kind of a style that I think we're not hitting right now. It's gonna be hard to hit, but I think this would be more along the lines of what you want to do, which is this guy comes in. So you have a choice of either this, because we need to know why he's chasing him. I think it would be good if he steals something. I don't know what, a diamond or like an emerald. Basically, he's stolen something, and when he turns, like he turns, I would turn the other way, by the way, just so you have him face to camera, and he's like happy because he's holding the thing he stole, and we can see it on camera, and he exits. So then this guy has a purpose now. He has a purpose to why he's following that guy. So then he follows him, and then he jumps, and then we go to jumps, cut. Then he goes to ding, going in the air, and wow, and then this guy may be still holding the thing, but now he's like, holy crap, he caught me, and then he gets hit, and then when his body goes backwards, let me see. Oh, one more. This is the same angle, it's just a different drawing. I don't want to make it too It's not showing. That's weird. No, never mind. But is when this guy is being hit to go in the towers, then the treasure or whatever can go in the air. Whoops. Like in the air and fall on the ground. And then I think that would be it. So you could add an extra shot at the end, but I want you to keep it somewhat short. You could have an extra shot where you see your hero holding the treasure, basically. And again, this is only if you think that's an idea that you know this idea. What we do usually in animation is like some people will give you ideas. I'm one of those people. I will give you an idea, and then it will trigger an idea in your head that is not mine. It's not the original one you had, but that will be something that works. So this is just fueling your brain with more ideas. What I want for you to understand that it needs to be clear, and we need to have rules of cinema that are applied. So if a character leaves off screen, it needs to have a reason, and when he comes back, it needs to come back from a certain spot. If a character is here on one cut in the next, like on one shot, if it cuts on the next shot, we should like either have the opposite point of view where he's looking here, and so we flip it, or make sure the character is in the same space. So for example, if we cut in this shot, we see the back of this guy, and in this shot we want to see a bit more his feet and stuff. It needs to be on screen in a similar place so that the audience doesn't have the eye jump from one side to the other. But that's the main thing. Like, he needs to have rules of cameras and cinema that are followed if you want to do some sequence like that is very dynamic. But how you do it is your choice. I just think right now, as it is, it doesn't quite work, but that's okay. And so I was just saying that at the end, if you really wanted, you could have your hero with his treasure in his hand. Either that, or like funny, it's still in the air in the previous shot. Still in the air in the previous shot, and it cuts, and then it just lands on his hand. As you can see, I could be in the same screen space. That could be funny. Anyway, those are ideas. I'll do a little break, and I will give you notes on the animation itself. I'll be right back.
A few moments later.
All right, Lauren, I'm back. Sorry about that. When I was away, I actually thought about your shot more before we dive into animation. I think this is 100% honest. I think this can turn out to be a cool shot, but it's becoming a short film rather than a shot. Even if you leave it with the version you had originally, there's a lot going on. It's very complicated movement as well. Oh, this is not loading. It's very complicated movement, and there just might be a lot. That's what I'm saying. So it's a lot of work to make that work. So what I was thinking is, so I had more ideas for the beginning to make it not easier, but clearer, and maybe easier in terms of animation. That I can go over in a minute, but I think if you wanted to treat this as just an exercise and so a shot, basically, you could have just this part is standing here, just from here. Then he runs just a little bit to crouch, and then you can have this, this, this. There you go. You don't need that bit. That would be just an exercise of being like jumping, and then punching, then you get kind of like the core of what you wanted, but just simpler because you have only 4 shots to do with this one, and you start from here. You don't have like 80 frames to animate before that. So that's one option. To me, option one is no need to think too much about a complicated story, and more about I'm doing this for an exercise in style and also animation. So you do a little run here, jump. It could be running a little bit more from here, right? Like he's like standing here, run to here in a straight line, jump, cut to this, see the other guy, boom. So that would be probably the easiest of all this, of like the easiest plan. But then so that's option one. If you want to turn this into more of a short film type of like sequence is more like a short. It's not a short film, but like a sequence of shots. Then what I would do is keep in mind what I put before with the story of having a reason why you would attack this guy. But even at the beginning, I think you could, instead of having this whole run, which, as I said before, doesn't seem very logical because he still doesn't go straight. What you could have is this guy is holding whatever he stole. This guy comes here. He looks up. He sees the thing. The guy leaves. This guy leaves. And after he's left, the camera could go whoosh, super. Let me do it with my mouse. Camera could go super whoosh, on his face. And then you see his reaction. So it's basically just like whoosh. And then when the camera is going like this, so basically the new angle would be more like this. The camera goes from this angle to this, and on the way you could have all those street lines. It would be super fast, right? It's like a punch in, like whoosh. And so you would have this shot where you could really read his facial expression, and then you could have he's holding on the floor. You could have the antic of the run. So I'll do it in another color. But he basically starts running in that shot. And maybe he goes off screen. And then the next shot would be, again, this is my idea, but it's not. I'll repeat it again, but feel free to completely ignore it. And then you could have him. You know what those shots are where you can just see the legs of the guy running? Like this. And then there's the lines like this. So you like, and then it cuts to maybe the same kind of action, but this time you see him running from the top of the guy running. I'm doing it in red, but that's the green guy. Sorry. Then you see this. Either that or even just his face. Actually, maybe it's just his face is even better. Let's work in animation, and that would work. Like, you still need to animate him running, but let's work because you see just the top. And then in this frame, you could antic down again, and then you have what you had before. Jumps out, and then go there, and then there, and there, and there. So that's the idea. Is that either you keep it super simple, and it's already not super simple, but if the simplest possible would be either to go from here, basically from here to the end in like 3 shots, Or if you really want to do a little story and it's like an anime thing, be mindful that this will take longer. Um, it will be closer to what you want, but it will be a long process, and the risk is that you get a little bit burnt out by it. That's why I was suggesting right away, keep it short and simple. And now we're getting into something that is not short and simple because of the style choice of that kind of like anime style fight. So it's on you to decide what you prefer. And if you choose to do shots, like several shots, I would work on the blocking for all the shots and then go into one shot after the other and polish them rather than polish everything at once, basically. So that's about story. We've done with the story. Let's just see the animation because you might be like, well, Tom, this is all great and nice what you're telling me, but I like this version and I'm going to proceed, which is totally fine. So I'm going to give you a couple notes on the animation. It's fine if you want to animate in splines. The problem is like now I feel like this run. Well, let's start from the beginning. Here, you need to have a more dynamic pose. Sorry, where with a nice line of action and a little. Oh, wait, this is bad actually. Right now it's all face to us. Basically, it's face to us, and everything is doing a. It's like it has a mirror. Everything is kind of like mirror. So what you want is to break that down to have. Um, oh wow, I can't draw. I'm sorry. More line of action. A little bit more like there's a leg inside and then there's a leg outside. One arm, the arms are not exactly mirrored, but something a little bit more like that. Especially when you land, it's 2 frames of contact, 3 frames of contact on that right leg. It should be just this should touch on one frame, and then the next frame, both legs should be on the floor, basically. But yeah, I would work on those poses so that they're nicer. With a more line of action. Right now, it's hard to tell where the line of action is because it looks like an X basically, and you want to try to find a way to have more like a. See, this is more like a line of action. I can't draw it, but yeah, basically you got it. So be mindful of that. Here, the problem I have with this is that it all feels kind of disconnected. The arm moves on its own. If you look at the neck, it's not moving at all. Here in that move, and the head is stuck. So I know it's like a blocking, but that's why, if you wanted my opinion, I think this is a cool shot to learn how to do the step. If you're not doing step, because this is important to have good poses there and hit them properly and work on them properly before you do anything else. Especially if you go for a more graphic thing that I I suggested, where you see the character in one main pose, like for example this needs to be one pose that is really nice. So and this one as well, because not a lot is going on in those shots. It's like someone doing this or someone jumping in the air, so it needs to be a nice pose. And right now I feel like because you probably just did a rough pass on the whole thing with being spline, it's not really hitting those poses nicely. So I would work on the poses, and honestly, I think it's worth trying to do stepped, because if you wanted to do splines, what you would do is you would not even like you would focus on the main controller and the rhythm, and I'm not sure I get that now. Like this is still feels a little bit rough, and the number of steps I have here here doesn't fit with the intensity and the movement. You would imagine that to do, first of all, there's no real end tick for this, so there's not enough energy to jump that far, and it doesn't feel like a run, it feels like a jump. And if you look at yours, you're doing a lot of steps, and there's a reason for that. It's because you need a lot of steps to go fast, quickly, like to just dash. Even if you look at sprinters, the first steps they do when they sprint is not, they're not just massive strides. They're not like their leg like this. In the first steps, the first steps are more, this is their body, right? Their first steps are more like this because the legs have to kind of get the energy going. So going straight away into a big jump, it looks like a big jump more than a run. And then here it's just basically looks like he's bouncing away rather than running, is what I'm saying. So if you choose to have a long run like this, and again, it's going to be a lot of work, you need to figure out all the steps in advance in a more detailed way. And I think now it just feels like he's bouncing and he's kind of like floating in the air. And I would rather have more steps to make it feel more like a proper run if you're going to go that way. Um, I like the facial expression. I think it could be pushed. Right now, it just feels like you've been very extreme in this in both sides. And the ridge on the, I don't know this rig, by the way, so I don't know what's possible or not possible, but you want to have a pose that is not a mirror, and you want to have, so there's a rule, right, in animation where the face is always open one way. It's like either this way or this way. In this case, it would be open that way, right? Because we're looking this way, and we want the face to kind of be open that way. So what we would like is more like the eyebrows to be like this because they open up, and the mouth to be more open that way, right? Um, well, this is badly drawn. I'll do it again. So what it means is that you would have let's go even smaller. This is too small. The eye open here more. Doesn't need to be that much, but basically avoid that that big ridge of his eyebrows, and then you would make that nostril a bit higher because this part of the mouth would be more higher. Wait. Oh no! What did I do? Did I erase it? Oh, that's annoying. Oh, maybe I can do it back here. Oh. Okay. I don't know what happened, but it disappeared. Okay. So more open on this side, nostril a bit up, and more close on this side and open, more open on this side. Stuff like that, a bit more giving more detail on your facial expression. Oops, sorry. I hope I've been doing this in the, yeah. So here I explain about having it disappear from camera. Same here. I think I would like, if you're gonna go with this version, I'd go more dynamic. I like the fingers like that. That's what you done. But I would go more dynamic in the pose, and then really have a nice transition here. Like this looks unbalanced. You want to really show that he's pushing all his weight. Maybe the leg is already getting catching here, and then on the ground here already. Because you need weight to do that move. So he needs to have both feet on the ground to be able to swing that arm forward. And then here, the hands of this guy should be turned inside rather than up. And again, you have like kind of a mirror going on here where everything is kind of mirror. So trying to find a bit more asymmetry. Same in all the poses, right? You want to avoid to have exactly the same thing happening on both sides. Like you have here. This is cool. Because this is like a different shape on both sides. Same for the legs, so I like that. Yeah. So those are animation nodes. I think right now, to be honest, it's more about clarity than your animation that is needs the most work. I think right now we need to focus on making this clear and doable for you, and not too difficult to either animate and make the audience follow. Right. So we want something that is clear, simple, and makes your work efficient, and the audience like what they see without asking themselves what's going on. Um, so I hope that helps. Let me see one more time if I can. I think in general, if I can add, in general, you run. You got a lot of up and down movement on the chest. It feels like he's like super heavy. It just feels like he's like boom, 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 bouncing hard. So maintaining a more, and he's a big guy. He's big, muscly, and you know when you're muscly like this, not that I know of, but when you're muscly like this, you do a lot of those shoulder blade exercises. A lot of those muscles of your back are really built. So what happens is by naturally you will have a posture that is more open like this. You will stand taller and you'll be more tall, so you'll be less crouched like this guy. Like he feels like he's just, kind of like a gorilla. It's kind of like a little bit forward, so you will tend to be more straight than other people. Like if you look at Captain America, the reboot, whatever. Well, not the reboot, the live action one. Um, when he runs, that's the image I have. He's running like this because he's like super big. That's the kind of idea I think you should go for in your run, rather than a very like this looks like he's very crouched forward, so more like a stand tall kind of run, and making sure your arms are driving the run rather than just being there swinging. Okay, so I hope all this helps. Um, Please let me know which way you want to go before you commit. Let me know what you really want to do, and I'll help you go the way you want. Those are my thoughts. Again, I don't have the perfect knowledge. This is just my opinion with the experience I have now, and how I feel this reads. But yeah, please let me know if there's any question. Thank you. Bye.